Okay, well, I mean, this has to get philosophical to some degree, and I want to have you, Laura Finley, take that. So what is the difference between a patient asking for pills to end his or her life in the last 2 weeks, as presumed last 2 weeks, and asking to be taken off life support in presumed the last 2 weeks, and dies in both cases?
They are actually completely different decisions. The person on life support is in a way being held in their state, such as someone with motor neuron disease, artificially, but their disease is progressing. What you're talking about here is somebody where their disease may stop progressing, they may actually get much better and improve, but you're making the decision to cut their life off deliberately. And so they're dying of their lethal overdose, and they're dying long before they may have died of their disease, because you just can't tell. And that's the problem. If you make a decision in life, you must have accurate information. And what I'm saying is, don't kid yourself that information about prognosis is accurate, because it isn't.
But why doesn't that apply to a decision to withdraw a ventilator? I mean, have you never seen a patient where a doctor said, I think we should take the ventilator away, and the patient actually lived quite a lot longer?
That does happen occasionally, yes, but they are dying of their disease, and you shouldn't be giving people treatments that you think are not achieving a benefit, because they're futile. So if the person doesn't want to have a treatment, they can refuse it. Ventilation is a treatment, and if they decide to refuse it, then they can, and I as a doctor must support them. But that is quite different to me deliberately assisting their suicide, because what happens is then you stop actually actively trying to make the day in front of you better than it would have otherwise been.
Andrew,
let me ring in Andrew Solomon,
and I'll come back to you, Daniel.
The withdrawal of life support equipment requires a much more active role for the physician than the prescription of medication that someone can use to bring about the end of their own life. It involves the physical removal of equipment. It usually involves the administration of morphine to ease the person through the dying process. There's a great deal that a physician has to do. And this idea that somehow there is something that is natural, and because it's natural, it's okay, and the other thing is somehow unnatural, seems very distorted to me. Physicians who...
Daniel Somasi.
Now, that's, first of all, that's not what we're saying, and that's not a reasonable way to defend the distinction between killing and allowing to die. I think one way of putting the difference from a moral point of view, at least from our perspective, is that treatments can be considered futile and terminated, but patients should not be considered futile and terminated. And that's the difference intentionally in the structure of what we're doing, right? So if somebody's on a ventilator, right, and I stop it, my intention is not that they should be dead. My intention is that they be discontinued from a treatment that I think is needlessly causing suffering, prolonging their dying.